Competition watchdogs, also known as antitrust authorities, have been with us since the 19th century. And the first act was passed in the United States, and also known as the Sherman Antitrust Act. Of CAK in driving socio-economic agenda here in Kenya, and of course helping us understand what is the new strategic plan and what is it talking about. He's joining us tonight on Inside Government. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. My name is O'Brien Kimani, and we are coming to you live from our national headquarters. This is KBC Studios. Inside Government starts right now, and of course I told you, if you want to get through to us, our Twitter handle is at KBC Channel 1, at O'Brien Kimani. It's also my X handle. Please, you're welcome to interact with us. And of course, if you have questions to ask, you're free to do so. Tonight, we are looking at the role of Competition Authority of Kenya in enhancing fair play and, of course, socio-economic development. I told you we have the Director General of the Competition Authority of Kenya. This is David Kime. He's going to help us understand the achievements of CAK since the organization was formed back in 2011. The new changes that are expected to come on board following the, if the amendments to the Act are passed. Thank you very much indeed, David, for joining us tonight. I mean, you're almost 1 year as the Director General of the Competition Authority of Kenya. What would you say has been the highlights of your leadership?
Brian, thank you very much, and thank you, KBC, for hosting me tonight on Inside Government so that we can look at matters competition and consumer protection that are the twin mandates for Competition Authority of Kenya. The highlights, number one, is that we have managed to craft and develop our strategic plan. Actually, the fourth strategic plan when we began. We have also managed to work with the continental regulator, the new one, which is CFTA, Competition Authority, as well as working with the COMESA Competition Authority, as well as our own local one, which is East African Competition Authority. Those are the key highlights. And I want to say also we are a key member of International Competition Network, where we were mentioned and awarded actually a prize for doing a great research on food, animal food industry that is has been adopted worldwide for the recommendation and best practices that we came up with, in addition to quite a number of other issues. Thank you very much.
When you look at the mandate of the Competition Authority, I mean, it is pure to promote and safeguard competition within the Kenyan economy. How is the authority playing this role?
We play this role by taking up the mandate in 5 key areas. The first one is to ensure that we foster and promote fair play, as you had mentioned earlier, through looking at issues like restrictive trade practices, making sure that we eliminate them even possible, looking at the areas of where businessmen come together as cartels and then restrict trade. Make sure also in that aspect that we look at issues to do with entry barriers and the sort, like in terms of ensuring that we have fair competition in our country. Also, we look at the key aspect of consumer protection by making sure that we take care of businesses that actually use misleading information to be able to gain the confidence of consumers. And that's one of the areas that we do it, to make sure that we protect consumers according to section or 46 of our Constitution, as well as the Competition Act that was passed in 2010, and then we started operating in 2011, as you mentioned. We also look at issues to do with research and advocacy to ensure that we are able to disseminate to Kenyans to know their rights as far as competition is concerned and as far as consumer protection is concerned. Also going deep into sectors of our economy to do research so that we have policy recommendations that enhance consumer protection as well as promoting fair competition within our country. We also are keen to ensure that we elevate and boost stakeholder engagement in the various sectors, like working with government properly to ensure that competition issues are at the forefront, working with our lawyers to ensure that they also understand what we are doing as competition authority to promote predictability, certainty, transparency, and accountability in what we do. Also working with the international partners that I mentioned earlier, including development partners in this area, to ensure that we are boosting the capacity of our competition authority. Lastly is that we are keen to actually strengthen the institutional capacity of the authority. First of all, by introducing our manpower to the new areas that are emerging in competition arena, like the advent of artificial intelligence, the use of big data analytics to make decisions, issues to do with machine learning, and all those aspects that are actually taking root in our economy. We would like to do that, as well as also ensuring that we have very modern regulatory tools to help us undertake our mandate. So those are the key areas that I would mention in relation to your question.
I mean, 11 years ago, I mean, not actually 11, 15 years ago, 14 years ago, when the Act came into force, I mean, the global competition landscape has really evolved, and as you have talked about, we are now talking about, you know, machine learning, artificial intelligence, big data, and all these have helped to reshape the global competition environment.
Yes.
How has this been a challenge to CAK in implementing its mandate?
The areas you mentioned are not the only challenges, but let's take what you
we can first of all stick with that
on the table, what you put into there. First and foremost is that when we talk about AI, when we talk about machine learning, when we talk about use of big data and all that, you find the players in that arena are using very complicated algorithms that they are able to hide the malpractices that can take place in that area. They are able to hide barriers and entry in that space. They are able to hide issues to do with the cartel aspects of that. They're able to, and we are trying to now to unmask by going into that area. Number two is that it introduces different kind of economics than the economics that we are used to in terms of the traditional economics. We now have to upgrade our expertise to now understand the issues to do with economics for platforms, economics for this internet space and the rest, so that then we are able to be an effective watchdog in that aspect. So that's the key challenge as you've said. Again, you find that the players that are in this space are huge telcos that are actually established all over the world. They even don't have physical presence in Kenya, but then they are also in our space in terms of the businesses they are carrying. And that's where we are taking issues like, let's have a continental body that can then have the muscle in terms of the expertise, in terms of gathering data that is needed, in terms of disabling these complexities that we have, so that then we are in one body able to manage this. Otherwise, a national authority like ours may not have that kind of capacity deal with such kind of challenges we are doing. And that's why we are members of International Competition Network. We are very active in coming up with a Continental Authority, Competition Authority. We are members of African Competition Forum, you know, because we want to push this agenda of being able to now regulate big telcos that are known to all of us.
Very well. I mean, if you're just joining us, we are talking about enhancing competition within the Kenyan business industry, and we are talking to the Competition Authority of Kenya Director General David Kimei, and of course we are looking at the emerging issues, things like artificial intelligence, as well as big data, Internet of Things, and of course the global changing dynamics when it comes to business, and how CAK is positioning itself to play that critical role of ensuring that there is fair play and there is fair competition within the marketplace. I just want to hear this from you. I mean, when you look at CAK, I mean, when it was formed back in 2011, I mean, you know, the widespread use of artificial intelligence as well as Internet of Things was not as widespread as it is today. So what are you doing, or what have you done to ensure that you remain with tune with the changing global business environment?
You've correctly pointed out that when we started our operations as a regulator, those things you're talking about, artificial intelligence, use of big data in making decisions, use of machine learning issues, all those aspects that you've mentioned, the use of very complex algorithms, as I mentioned, were not there then. Now, in the advent of this and in the advancements of all those aspects, we have now proposed amendments to our act.
Yeah.
Because we, at that point, we never anticipated as Kenyans and everybody else in the world that this is the direction that our businesses will take. So therefore, we proposed several amendments that, first of all, will give the authority the muscle, the legal muscle, to regulate that particular space. And those amendments mirror what we have at the moment in terms of dominance, in terms of abuse of power, in terms of restrictive trade, in terms of issues to do with cartels. They mirror that, but now appropriate and actually customized to deal with a digital space, deal with digital markets. Yes.
And I
so
know
those provisions were lacking, and that's why we are taking that step. Where we are at the moment is that it has gone through the several steps that needs to be done. What is remaining now is for that to be presented on the floor of Parliament, for Parliament to debate and give the way forward. We are hoping that Parliament will agree with us because of the importance of regulating this digital space, this digital market. And we are calling upon our members of Parliament to look at this positively, because this is where we need to regulate, to make sure that we protect our consumers, to protect that we have level playing field for everybody who's doing business in that space. Thank you very much.
I know that the amendments have been pending, and of course, thank God now they are before Parliament, where the debate is expected to happen. Do members of Parliament understand and realize the urgency of passing the CAK Amendment Act?
Yes,
they
do.
Sorry.
They do understand, because one aspect that really speaks to the urgency is the fact that when it went before the Cabinet, it was actually given a clean bill of health because of the urgency it needs. Also, our parent ministry and ourselves, we are engaging the committee of in charge of finance and all that to have actually to explain to them, and we have engaged them to know the crucial and the importance and the urgency of this issue. And we are happy to report that we are getting positive response from the different committees that are actually involved in issues to do with the competition.
So it is at the committee stage now?
We have actually presented it to Parliament, and it is expected to go through the committees before the entire House discusses.
As the DG of CAK, I mean, how fast or how soon would you want to see the amendments to the Act passed by the National Assembly? Actually,
should have been way last year when we started the process. But again, because of the procedures and our policies and our laws and our frameworks, we have to go through every step so that we are within our the provisions of our constitution. And that's why we needed to do stakeholder engagement in all that, to incorporate everybody's comments before we move to different stages. Up to now, when we are going to Parliament, we have gone through all the stages that are required. And it is the right way to do. Sometimes it may not be that fast that we want, but it is also good to comply with what we have established as a country so that we can move forward in an orderly manner. But I want to say that I'm satisfied this far that we are now taking it to Parliament for final discussion, for final debate, so that now those amendments can get the force of law. Yes.
I mean, you know, this process has been going for the last 3 years. Further delays in debating the amendments and, of course, passing them, what impact are they having on helping you play your role?
First of all, let me say that we anticipate and we are hopeful that Parliament will, in its calendar and in its wisdom, fast-track these amendments, because we also know that they understand the seriousness that the delay will cause to our economy. First of all, we have many complaints that arise in this digital space, and the lack of clear guidelines in terms of the legal background means that those complaints will not be actually resolved to the satisfaction of anyone else who is complaining about it. Also, it means the trade barriers that exist will not be dismantled this soon, and yet we actually need everybody to be, who needs to invest in that arena, to be there. In case we have any cartels in this sector, we don't have any tools to go into it and check and deal with those aspects. If we have any manner of abuse of dominance, abuse of power in those aspects, right now we don't have those legal instruments to look into it. So the consequences are actually huge. We should have it as soon as possible. Thank you.
And of course, we hope, excuse me, we hope that the leadership of the National Assembly, I mean, is watching and of course listening, so that they can act with the urgency that is needed in debating the amendments, and of course giving more power to Competition Authority. I just want to hear this from you. I mean, you know, the issue of how to deal with companies that are operating in the digital as well as innovation space is not just a challenge here in Kenya. You know, when you look at the Federal Trade Commission in the United States, when you look at the Competition and Markets Authority, you know, in the UK, they're also struggling with these issues. You know, how do they deal with companies that are operating in different territories, and how do they ensure that there is fair play, not only here at home, but even abroad? And so, from where you sit, how is CAK planning to address these?
Let me say that this space is new to every regulator in the entire world. And everyone else is actually doing their best to catch up. The complexities in this industry is that innovations are so fast and very dynamic. And the issues to do with regulation lack a bit. They don't move at the same speed as the innovations that are taking place in that particular space. So, and then, but the saving grace and the good news is that those organizations you have talked about, those regulators you've talked about, Fair Trade Commission in US and the one in UK, they have actually moved away far ahead in trying to catch up with this. And they already have some frameworks that we can actually customize and make sure that we start running as soon as we get the act in place. They also have principles that we can apply immediately as soon as we have the act in place. They also have made decisions that we can now get the data and information from them and make quicker decisions. So we are not going to invent the wheel. That helps us to catch on as fast as the amendments are done. Not only in UK and in the US, also in South Korea, where we work very well with them. In Japan, they've made strides in that area. Closer home, South Africa as well has made strides. So we'll be able to align to them, to leverage on those advances that have been made so that we can bring our regulation of this market up to speed. Thank you very much.
I just want to hear this from you. I mean, under the proposed amendments to the CAK Act of 2012, of 2010.
Yes.
What is going to be different once the amendments are done, and how are they going to impact your business?
First of all, once you are given the legal instrument to regulate, then you have the opportunity, first of all, to come up with policies that actually work with that, to come up with guidelines that will guide you in doing that. And once you have those in place, now you go to the implementation phase. It will be possible actually to help this country grow further than it does at the moment for the lack of regulatory interventions. So we expect that coming up with these amendments will help those companies to be more innovative, will help those companies expand their businesses. And all that means that in terms of gross-domestic product for the country, it will also be enhanced. In terms of job creation, it will also be done. It will also means small SMEs that are in that sector will have the chance also to grow faster. So it is a whole array of benefits that will accrue. And all those will affect possibly our business and our outlook on what we do to impact economic growth in the country. Yes.
Is there one amendment that is exciting to you, that you expect to see once a new act comes into force?
What excites me is that we are able to define that market. Unlike when we are here now, we are not able to define because of the lack of the amendments. Right. Also, what excites us also is that it helps the country, the businesses in that space to be self-regulating. We like actually encouraging self-regulation so that companies can work in a way that they comply, and then from complying with the laws and meeting their targets in terms of return on investments, in terms of profits that they need. That is the way we really envisage. And that excites us because it will encourage self-regulation in this area, and it will help us move forward. Yes.
In your regulations, and of course in your enforcement measures, which anti-competitive behavior is more prevalent in the Kenyan market?
The first one, which we have actually seen a lot of complaints on, which really do not bother so much on our mandate, is fraud.
Fraud.
That is one that is very prevalent that we see across. And I'm sure we have so many, we have several agencies that are actually have that mandate to deal with it. So once we have our act in place, we'll be able now to work with them so that they can deal with that behavior.
What form
that
of fraud?
For instance, maybe a Kenyan has bought an item, all right, or online, and then the item is not delivered. That's fraud. Or
which is a criminal
that's
act.
a criminal act, yes. Or somebody buys something and yet they don't get a service that they bought. Or they buy, but then they are supplied with something different from what they have bought. Or they buy and it takes forever for it to be done. All right. So it's not different from the other criminal activities. Yes.
And so under the proposed amendment...
but on the competition side, is that the prevalent issues that we've seen is on the online loan or loan companies that give loans or actually sell
the micro-lenders.
Micro-lenders. Actually, the issues there are the interest rates, two, the currency that is being used. So sometimes you find some of those micro-lenders asking people in Kenyan economy to pay by dollars. And we are yet in the Kenyan economy. Yes, and the interest rates that sometimes are outrageous.
So
and we are happy that when that, we have done a study in that, and CBK adopted some of the recommendations that we have, and CBK is closing in some of those aspects. Yes, and
so
let me also say that at this point, that we have MOUs with most of the regulators in the different industries that helps us to actually execute our mandates, especially for competition aspects in the different sectors and also consumer issues. Thank you very much.
You know, apart from you know, those concerns, I also know that you've also been very tough on companies who are displaying monopolistic tendencies and who are, of course, abusing their buyer power. Which case would you say you're dealing with now?
In terms of best practice, in terms of regulation and competition, I'm not actually supposed to disclose what we are doing. But let me say, in insurance industry, we've had abuse of power between the main insurance companies and the small enterprises like the garages, like the assessors, like such SMEs that work there. And those are the things we are handling at the moment to ensure that these SMEs are protected from abuse of power from the bigger insurance companies. And that happens across the sectors in the economy.
Very well.
And our aim is to ensure that SMEs get a chance to grow and become also respectable companies in the near future.
Very good.
Right.
I mean, when we come back, you will explain to us, I mean, last month you issued a cautionary statement to internet service providers and real estate players about what you'd call restrictive behaviors. We'll be coming back and of course you'll be explaining to us what's happening in that field. I mean, if you're just joining us, we are live from Broadcasting House. This is our national headquarters, and of course our conversation tonight is enhancing best competition practices in the Republic of Kenya. And of course we're talking to the Director General of the Competition Authority of Kenya. This is David Kimei. We are taking a short break. You're watching Inside Government. We are back with more. Welcome back. You're watching Inside Government live from Broadcasting House. We're talking to David Kemei, the Director General of the Competition Authority. Happening.
The aspect of internet service providers and estate developers entering into, let's say, restrictive agreements, all right, that allows the internet service provider to be the sole providers of internet service within a developed estate. This really a behavior that is against Competition Act, especially Section 21 of our Act. Why is it anti-competitive? In the sense that if you have exclusive agreements, it means the other internet service providers will not be allowed to come and offer services there. The impact of that, one, is that the consumers will not have a choice. The impact of that is that consumers will not have a choice in terms of quality of service, a choice in terms of pricing, a choice in terms of convenience, and yet our economy is open. Actually, we have liberalized our economy, and anyone who is interested in actually doing business in any sector is free to do it. That's the way we have chosen. So it is a very anti-competitive behavior to have exclusive agreements between real estate developers and internet service providers. And the reason why we did the notice is because we suspected this is a widespread practice, and we wanted to really take a step that will notify anyone else who is in that exclusive agreement to know that it is illegal, it is to know that it is against competition law, and to know that they can actually be penalized if found to have done that. And that now gives us the room to start doing thorough investigations in the different estates to see the compliance to that requirement and to that notice. So going forward, we expect to do thorough investigations and surveillance to see whether this notice is being actually complied.
What about in a situation whereby it is there is an agreement between the ISP service providers, the owners of the estate, and the developers of the estate? Is it still illegal where the three parties sit together and say, for us, we are
many parties sit and agree to have an exclusive agreement. It is against Section 21 of the Competition Act. That makes it any exclusive agreement to be illegal.
Very well.
Yes. And it doesn't apply only to internet service providers and real estate developers alone. It applies to the entire sectors in our economy. So anyone else who is having exclusive agreements in their dealings, they're actually going against Section 21 of the Competition Act.
Help us understand. I mean, if we live in a gated community, or what you'd call it in an exclusive neighborhood, whereby the neighborhood has been developed and owned by a certain a class of people, but then we sit down and say, in this estate of ours, we just want Company A to be the exclusive supplier of milk. Is it illegal?
Very illegal. It doesn't matter whether it is a service or a product. aspect, because now you're looking out the other players. Internet service has become a necessity like any other utility that we are using, like having electricity, like having water and all that. It is a necessity in our daily lives. We cannot actually transact many things without internet. And since we have liberalized our economy and we have many players, and the law allows everyone else to compete in that particular market, there's no reason why we should be having exclusive agreements looking out other businesses and other businessmen who are interested and women who are interested in providing the service. Yes.
I'm getting a question here from one of the viewers who is watching us tonight, and he's asking, this is Timothy Olonde. You're asking, is Competition Authority, does it regulate political parties?
Thank you for that question from Olende. Ours is confined to trade issues, business issues, where we have businesses actually doing their businesses. We don't even deal with issues to do with government. That's not our terrain. Our terrain is only about businesses doing business the right way. Yeah, that's it.
So when it comes to matters political,
yes,
I mean, that is left
to the registrar of political parties and other parties that are related.
Very well.
Yes.
Help us understand these. You are in the process of rolling out your new strategic plan.
Yes.
Which is going to guide your operations for the next 5 years. Do you want to tell us more about this?
Yes, thank you. Let me say that it is going to be operational in the next 3 years. Why do I say that?
3 years, yes.
Because we are aligning our planning regime to the one of the government. So when we do it for 3 years, it will end
the medium-term plan.
Medium-term plan. It will end in June 2008, and that's also when the new government plan also begins. So we begin together with the government. So it is 3 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what is going to be new in what do you seek to achieve under the new strategic plan?
Several aspects. Number one, we want to enhance compliance and enforcement in all the sectors. We want to regulate digital markets that we've talked about earlier on. We would like to collaborate more and partner more with the regional regulatory authorities and also continental, in fact, international. We want to do a lot of market research to be able to come up with policies and recommendations that are pro competition in all aspects. We want to do a lot of more to do with advising government in the new areas that they are considering, so that competition issues and consumer protection aspects come on the table to be considered. Yes. When it comes to also issues to do with consumer protection, we want also to do it on the digital space, as well as our traditional area that we are in. And in fact, we recently invested in a forensic laboratory that will help us also in cracking down on more and more cartels in our sectors. Yes.
I mean, the word cartel is, it's widely known in Kenya.
Yes.
And, I mean, we've all heard about cartels. And in your operations, what would you classify as cartel behaviors?
Number one, where industries or where companies in one industry are colluding in terms of meeting and sharing information of competitive nature to help them push their products or services to customers. Where companies share information on production costs, share information on prices, and they set it in a way that it doesn't encourage competition. Those are cartel aspects. Yes.
Are they rampant within the Kenyan market?
Different sectors are prone to cartel
Which one is
actions.
more prone?
Others are not. Yes.
Which
I
sector
can,
is
let
more
me
prone
just
to-
take one that we've already cracked on. That is the steel industry, where we actually went in because of the cartel actions, and we penalized about 14 companies. 7 of them agreed with us that the behavior was against competition law. 7 of them went ahead to exercise their democratic and legal right and went to the tribunal. So we are at the tribunal defending our position with among about seven companies. So those are some of the examples that I can give. I may not give other industries because of the nature of the workings of cartels. We can live within what we have already done and leave to us other areas that we might be targeting, because we don't want to announce our moves in public.
Still talking about the cartel behaviors within the steel industry, and I remember in 2023 you penalized, were they 7 companies, steel companies?
I said 14.
40.
I said 14.
14.
And then 7 agreed with us with the decision we took.
And collectively you penalized them.
And settled.
338 million?
Those are now the ones that we did not accept. Who did not accept our decision and moved to the court. So those are the 7 I mentioned about. Yes.
And so the matter is still ongoing?
For those 7.
For the 7.
But the others, there are some who have paid the penalties and completed. There are those who are continuing to pay the penalties. Yes.
I mean, since 2021, when you launched your third strategy, was it third or second?
It was the third, because
third
what we are
plan.
embarking on now is the fourth.
It's the 4th strategic plan.
Yes.
So since 2021, 2025, when you launched your strategic plan, you've penalized companies up to the tune of 177 million shillings?
They are more than that.
They're more than that?
Because I said the 7 only in court, in the tribunal court, is 338 million. So it is not 177, definitely. Also, we have a classic case of Carrefour, where we found it abused its power with 2 different suppliers. And for each case, it was penalized around 550 million.
550.
In total becomes 1.1.
And they paid?
1.1 million shillings. They are in tribunal again. They were not happy with that. And several more. So it's not 338 million only. It's not 1.1 only. It's because we are a watchdog and would like to companies to actually comply with the act. But I want to say that we are not there for the sake of imposing penalties. We would like really to engage with our businesses in a way that they are able to comply voluntarily, so that we don't have to resort to imposing penalties. Yes.
Timothy Mogo is asking, does the Competition Authority of Kenya regulate match fixing?
That's a good one. Yes, we regulate that because it has competitive aspects in it, because you have 2 teams that are competing. So match fixing is actually one of those anti-competitive behaviors. Yes.
So if somebody, or if a member of the public want to report anti-competitive practices, how are they supposed to reach a Competition Authority of Kenya?
3 ways, O'Brien. The first one, they can call and they'll be connected to one of our officers dealing with the case that they are reporting.
Very well.
And I have about 4 departments that deal with it. If it is anything to do with cartels, restrictive practices, that person will be connected to our enforcement and compliance department. If any issue is on mergers and the rest, we take them to the mergers department. If it is an abuse of power, we take them to power department. If it is consumer, we take them to consumer protection unit. That is a call. The The second one is through an email.
Yeah.
All of us are connected to the internet, and most of us use emails. They can use info@cak.go.ke or complain@cak.go.ke. The other one is if they can also write the traditional way of writing letters. We will also accept that. If they are within Nairobi as well, they have freedom to visit our offices and engage us on the complaint that they have.
Very good. And of course,
also
the pension towers.
Yes. Also, when we go outside to do our sensitization workshops and the rest, we can also pick some of those complaints when you know that we are within your towns. When we are doing the sensitization, you can also approach us at that time, and we can get your complaint and process accordingly.
David Kemei, our time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us tonight, and of course for sharing those insights with us right here on Inside Government. Your time is highly appreciated.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, MD. We've been talking to David Kemei, the Director General at the Competition Authority of Kenya, joining us here tonight, and of course to explain to us what the authority is doing to enhance competition within the Kenyan business landscape. O'Brien Kimani is my name. You have been watching Inside Government. Thank you very much indeed for your time. The Prime Edition is